Tori, let's talk a bit about the song that you composed for the new documentary, Audrey and Daisy. It's called Flicker. Tell us a little bit about first how you got involved with the project.
Well, Netflix sent me the film, and I was speechless after watching it. So I watched it a second time. And there was a mantra above Daisy's brother's head that said, "Monsters are made, not born." And the Valkyries started screaming in my ears, saying, "Okay, you need to understand this is a key that will unlock the song." And I put it on pause, and that was the beginning of the song.
So then tell us the title, Flicker. Where does that come from?
Well, fire became very much an essence that the song was showing me was at the heart of it. And that became connected to the phoenix out of the ashes and the idea of some lights are extinguished before they have time to burn brightly. Unfortunately, Audrey's tragedy, I'll say that again. Unfortunately, Audrey's tragedy is something that we all have to realize. She's not with us anymore, and her light flickered out. And some lights, it's tough. Daisy's road was a tough road, and yet she has found and ignited her spark.
Let's talk a little bit about the film for people who haven't seen it. It's a documentary, and it is about a lot of things. Sort of the main crux of it is about these two girls and many others who have been the victims of not only sexual assault, but of cyberbullying after their sexual assault and the effects of that. So talk a little bit about the importance of the movie and what it meant for you.
Well, the idea that we all know there's been a discussion about the violence that's happening on our university campuses, particularly the Stanford case with Emily Doe. And that was occurring when I was watching this film, and then realizing that this has permeated into our high schools and middle schools. So I felt that the conversation needed to be had nationally, and that it's a tough film. I'm not going to pretend it's anything different than it's a tough watch, but it's a must watch.
It certainly is a tough film. I mean, it's tragic, certainly, but I think that it's interesting the way that you see the stories of these two girls unfolding. I mean, one unfortunately doesn't survive; the other one is persevering. I wonder if you could talk a bit more about how that kind of conflict there, if that's the right word I'm using. I guess those two opposing end results for these two girls' lives. How did that influence your song?
Well, the song needed to acknowledge the fact that Audrey felt that her life was over after what happened to her. And this is something we have to talk about. It's our kids against our kids. Our kids are doing this to each other, and they all knew each other. They were friends in both these particular stories. And so what haunted me is that the guys in Audrey's story didn't understand that this was abuse. And then once the pictures were put up online, then our girls, as well as our guys, got involved in shaming her. And so the song needed to talk about her tragic story And then it needed to talk about Daisy's tragic story as well, but she was able to survive her potential suicide tries and then begin to address things and address what happened to her through the justice system. And then when the justice system didn't, I feel, step into neutrality and look at it like that, then she needed to take it further.
Right, right. I wonder if you talk a bit more about just your general process when it comes to songwriting. I mean, how many goes of things do you give it before you finally hit upon the right chorus, the right lyrics, the right melody?
Well, 'cause there isn't a certain number of goes.
Right, that's 3 or 4 to 5. Yeah.
It could be hundreds.
Hmm.
It could be hundreds. It takes what it takes. I think you can't settle. And when you're writing about other people's stories, then there was a responsibility that you were investigating what the movie was talking about. There are many issues in the movie. And so it is sometimes writing a song, crawling into a different dimension, and you immerse yourself in it. And you can't just let things in there. You might be taken down the wrong path, and your metaphorical lines might be not the ones you end up with. You might try them for a while, but then you rip out the second verse and you start again. So I did know the mantra above Charlie's head: monsters are made, not born. The muses were really saying, okay, wake up, T, write this down.
Hmm. Right. I'm very interested, I guess, in those little those sparks of inspiration. And what is the feeling like when you do hit upon that from that initial idea?
Well, for instance, that was clear, that it was the core of the song, but yet those weren't the right lyrics. And so it became, within a matter of time, I can't tell you how many hours, I don't remember. When I dive into a song, sometimes time, it's a bit strange. I can be up writing and then taking a nap here and there, and this can go on for several days, where a song is, we're hunting it down. We're trying to hunt. And you can immerse yourself in research, and fire became it became the central element. So I was working with that. And then, of course, the phoenix out of the ashes was another strong energy. And I had been watching Furiosa and Mad Max. So that, in the land of many mothers, that energy came forth as well. Especially that's what you're hearing in the chorus. It's that really the ride of the Valkyries.
Right. Very, very visual. Very visual inspirations you have there. Take us on to the recording studio. What was it like putting the song together in the studio and performing it?
Well, I guess it's a mixture. It's a paradox of things. You're building a track, and sometimes I'm building it with Mark in the control room, and we had the Rhodes because it's electric. So different, the Busendorfers in the other room. And we were just working things out, finding tempo. And then when we would be listening back later to the Rhodes, we would think, hang on a minute, this all shouldn't be on piano. Possibly it starts on piano and then the pianist comes back in thunderously in the chorus. But there's something about when we went into the second verse with the Rhodes, and that wasn't planned. I was going to play the whole thing on the piano. And then you discover things as you go, listening to many different guitars on that chorus, listening to different guitar riffs and where we wanted to take it. And sometimes you go, okay, wait a minute. Maybe that's not the right direction. And so it's a give and take, trying to find the right sonic tonal approach.
Right, absolutely. So we're an awards website, and you're an 8-time Grammy nominee. You've got various nominations and wins elsewhere. I wonder what that kind of recognition throughout your career has meant to you.
Well, you know, fair question. You have to write not for awards. You have to write because you're inspired to write. And I needed to honor and acknowledge both Audrey and Daisy's story. Mm-hmm. And also the issue of the community, friends, neighbors, teachers, sheriffs, prosecutors, judges, all of us. And that was what the second verse was really about. So what you have to do as a songwriter is say, are we answering at the end title? Are we doing what we need to do to say, Bonnie and John made this powerful film, and is the song acknowledging all the issues in the film? And that's how I approach things. And if they get, then the songs get talked about or the albums get talked about by other people, then they get talked about.
Absolutely. What do you hope that people get from this film? I mean, obviously we want some kind of a discussion to spark, but what feeling do you want people to take away from it and from your song?
Well, that these are our kids. These are our kids doing things to our kids. They're ours. And we as grown-ups, we can't just keep our heads in the sand about it. It's now permeated to our high schools and it's in our middle schools now. So clearly we're failing as grown-ups because we're not addressing it. So our kids know how to do technology better than most of us, but they don't know the consequences of pushing send. They don't necessarily know the definition of abuse. And okay, so how do they understand that? That means we have to be proactive and encourage our educators to talk about it. And thinking it's wrong thinking to say if we don't talk about it, then it'll go away. It won't happen in our neighborhood. Well, it's happening everywhere. So I believe that the movie will get people to talk, and that's really what has to happen. I don't have the answers. Mm-hmm. I don't have the answers. I think we have to begin to educate ourselves about what's happening.
Absolutely. Well, Tori, thank you so much, and congratulations on your song and on the film. It's very powerful stuff, and thank you for taking the time to talk with me.
Thank you, Zach.
You're welcome. Have a great day.